Morning, all. Morning. Morning, Roxanne. Thank you so much for my brooms. I got a double dose this morning. Thank you so much. Arlene Lewis. Morning, Arlene. Julia Spooner. Morning, Julia. Lynette Harris. Morning to you. Glenn Richardson. Rukmin Gangadine. Morning. J Dimple 66. Will Durant. Morning to you guys. Cyril Mayas. Morning, Sir Leslie. Joseph Charles, morning to you. Margaret Thomas, morning. Wazid, morning. Lisa Atwater, morning. Lisa. Sally McNeil O'Connor, morning to you. Annette Neptune, morning. Holly Legault, morning. Carol Boyce John, 123, morning. Charm Rich, good morning to you. Grand Rising as well. John Keto, morning, sir. Emerson Brown, morning to you. Marlon Blaze, Kester Billy, morning to you all as well. Leon Joseph Deshrobin, morning. Thank you, Roxanne. Sharp, morning. Harry Amsterdam, morning to you. Patty Kutu, morning. Gigi Wall, morning. We have on Facebook Rosemary Edley, morning, Rosemary. Ruth Fronting, morning, Ruth. Maria Lyons, morning, Maria. Alana Rose, morning to you. Alison Boyce, morning, Alison. Nigel O'Connor, President of Pleasantville, and First Lady Mauricia Keegan. Sean Ziba, morning. Mawa James, morning to you. Diane Charles, morning, Diane. Christopher Coffey, morning, sir. Morning to you. Joy Eva Smith Spivey, morning. Leon Graves, morning. Arthur James, Veronica George, Cynthia Jackson, morning, all of you guys. Carol Myers, morning, Carol. Carol, what's the weather like by you? As always. Jennifer Nathan, morning. Alison Samuel, my good friend, morning, Alison. See here, Real Talk, morning. Lystra Sydney, Marlene Panton, Priscilla Holder, morning, guys. Jennifer Dorset, Annette Beard. Phyllis Antoine, morning to you. Sunny morning. Find this rain taking long. Maria says drama over by 91.9. Handsome Brucey getting hot. Today so that means Abu Bakr is there. Fuad. Dexter James, Janice Matthews, Judy Bowen, morning. John Edwards, morning, guys. Jennifer Joseph, Alicia Almond, De Rocher, Kevin Thomas, Cheryl Child. A lot of go and play back. Bruce. Shell Hadara Lambert, morning. I guess, well, yeah. You piqued my interest, Maria. I need to go and take a listen. Phyllis says, I had her wondering what happened. Nothing, Phyllis, is just one of those mornings when I got distracted by one of those fully done clowns. In particular, Garth Christopher, who goes by he has a Facebook profile called Break Free. He is the only one who held on to that Break Free title. You may recall a couple of years ago, a few of them came together saying they wanted to form a new movement. It was himself, Garth Christopher, Barrington Skippy Thomas, who was his once sworn enemy. This guy, woman, Joel D'Souza, David Welch, a couple others of them came together because they were saying, PNM and the UNC always had time, so we need to come together and create this new entity and so forth and so forth. Didn't last as long as the Red House fire. They had this big meeting by Joel D'Souza's house, and who come and talk and see what they have to say. Everybody was given a different aspect of society to speak on. And having listened to all of them, it was clear that none of them knew what they were talking about, especially Joel D'Souza, who was supposed to speak on finance. I was like, okay, right. And then one by one, they started to fall away. I think Joel D'Souza was the first one to leave. And then after that, yeah. Nothing that they tried to do to come up against the PNM works because the alternative to the PNM is chaos and confusion. So Mr. Christopher has been posting a lot of rubbish on his page, talking about and there's one of the things that upsets me. Right? These clowns, they're so desperate. But after 9 years, next month, the 10th of next month will make it 9 years. Well, sort of. September 7th, yeah. So 9 years. After 9 years, they have not been able to get one accusation of corruption against this government to stick. And that hurting them in the crow, right? And so from time to time, one or more of these clowns always talking about this is the most corrupt government and the most corrupt. Ask them, speak to the issue of corruption. Tell us, what corruption has this administration been involved in? And ostensibly, as it always happens, they run back, they'll tell you about O'Halloran and Privat and Carty and all this nonsense. I said, no, we're talking about no. Kamala versus Keith. We're not talking about Eric Williams we're not talking about Manning. We want to hear about now, the last 9 years. Or let's go back to 2010, come forward and compare those two periods and tell us what corruption. They come nothing. Nothing. They will talk about everything they tried. And nothing sticks. Right? So they keep coming with their foolishness and their nonsense. And so he's one of them. So Dr. Rowley decided to put Mr. Scotland as a minister in the Ministry of National Security to assist Mr. Hines. Two heads are better than one. Because we know when Kamala Persad-Bissessar was there, she had at one time two ministers in the Ministry of National Security. I think, was it where Mr. Warner was Minister of National Security when it was Colin Partap? Was it? What? I think so. Who was fired for driving under the influence when the police stopped him and he had a vehicle that had strobe lights and so on and found to be under the influence, and he was fired. But Persad-Bissessar had 5 ministers. Roxanne is telling me she feels it for Bruce. That man is a lunatic. Well, I really need to go back and check that recording to see what are going on. Neil Francois, always present. Morning, Sir Felix Hospitalis, and pay morning to you guys. Patty Kutu, Debian McKnight, Leon Joseph. Morning to all of you. Yeah, so there's always some kind of nonsense that they on, right? And yeah, so he distracted me a little bit this morning. I was doing my research. And so this thing about Mr. Hines being fired, Mr. Hines being demoted, come on. So I even saw this clown who seems to be wanting to get back into the political scenario, Suraj Rambachan, posting something similar on his Facebook page, right? Talking about Hines was demoted. And I'm thinking to myself, so when Kamala Persad-Bissessar moved Stacey Rupnarine from the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs and put her as a minister in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, as it was then called. And at the time, Suraj Rambachan was the line minister. Was that a demotion? I'd love to ask Mr. Rambachan that. Did that constitute a demotion? Were you demoted when Kamala Persad-Bissessar did that? The donkey logic that they come in with, forgetting that they were in similar positions, right? Because and I'm certain the Ministry of National Security, the scope of responsibility is significantly larger than the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, because you recall Persad-Bissessar removed transport from that ministry and created a whole separate Ministry of Transport. I think Devant Maharaj was at one time that minister, and then she had Mr. Stephen Cadiz as that minister. Up until the time I think they left office, Cadiz, I believe, was the Minister for Transport, where we saw one of the areas that fell under his responsibility was the water taxis. And we would recall that a company to which he was previously affiliated, well, not even previously, right? Because when he left politics, he went right back there as the principal of that business. Would have gotten some $42 million worth of work. According to him, it had no contract. We just were doing work on an as-needed basis, but they got some $42 million worth of as-needed work for the water taxis, right? While he was the Minister of Transport. And they saw nothing wrong with that. No conflict of interest. Nothing wrong with that. So many other companies they had, but and the thing about it is the company that he was that Tropical Power or something, so I think is the name of it. Their business, their core business was not water taxis, was not boats. So they formed some sort of partnership or some arrangement with some company that deals with that. And then $42 million or $43 million worth of as needed work came the way of his company. But they want to tell you about wife got contract to power wash the roof of Brian Lara Stadium. I have to talk about that. Yeah, but $43 million in contracts. No conflict of interest there. Right? Was there any tendering for that? What was the tender process? Who evaluated that tender? I'd love to know. Cabinet agree on that? We wouldn't know. Because as Verna St. Rosegrave told us, while she was in for the short time, the Kobo sweat that they gave her as a minister, while she was in office, the times that she went to cabinet, as she said, no, there were no cabinet minutes taken. How could you have the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago running this country? You're all having weekly meetings and you're not taking minutes, but yet still lesser organizations, when they have their meetings, take minutes, which is seen to be, a standard part, a standard aspect of most meetings, right? Because if it is that you need to refer to decisions that were taken, if you own a business and you want to go approach a finance house for funding or financing, one of the things you usually ask for is the board minutes where the decision was taken to undertake this particular transaction. So I was very surprised when Verna St. Rosegraves, in an interview with one of the daily newspapers, would have made that disclosure that they weren't taking minutes during cabinet meetings. So man could not, right? Hence the reason it would not have been recorded when persons would have had conflicts of interest and chose not to recuse themselves. All of these things. So we can't even say, let's go back and see what was discussed, who said what. Hence the reason that meeting that Gary Griffith spoke about, where 3 ministers, according to him, pulled him aside to tell him take one for the team and retract what he said that Ram Logan had asked him to call David West. But when you ain't taking cabinet minutes, police wanting to investigate that can't say, well, all right, let's get the cabinet minutes for that day, because it should reflect that Gary Griffith came in at X o'clock, at which time acting Prime Minister Errol McLeod, right, handed over chairmanship of the meeting to Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, and he, right, no minutes. They have no issue with that. These men and women of letters who always love to criticize the PNM, I have no issue with that. No problem. Right? Anyway, part for the cause, but put them back. That's why you run a country. Put them back. Right? Okay. So I listened yesterday. My good friend Nigel O'Connor, president of Pleasantville, drew my attention to an interview on 91.9. As I told you, I don't listen to that station anymore. On the odd occasion, if I happen to be heading home, I'm in my car around between 4 and 6, 4 and 7. And if Darian is not on, he might have, he stay home that day, or whatever reason he's not on that day, then, and I need to find something else to listen to if I'm not listening to 100.1. Sometimes I might just listen for just a few minutes to hear what somebody calls us. Or if it is I want to send up my blood pressure, I will switch to that station. But I haven't done that in a while. So Nigel called me and he would have drawn my attention to that. interview. Unfortunately, I got in at the tail end and I heard Mr. Chance taking on Mr. Bharat, and followed by Brian, and then, of course, the quintessential LBA, Kingsley. You know, he had to come in. And of course, yes, yeah, he had to, you know, Kingsley reminds me of something Jenny talks about from time to time. Massa, you is sick, we sick. Yeah, Massa, you sick, we sick. That's Kingsley. And if you had any doubts of that yesterday, when he called in at the end of the interview, go back and listen to it. You reinforce that. Massa, you sick, we sick. Quintessential LBA. And he's proud of it too. Right? And there are plenty more like him. Reminds me of Candace Owens from the Republican Party. People like Tim Scott and them, and this Donald's fella. Shameless. Anyway. So I listened, and I probably need to go back, and I'll probably go back and replay on YouTube or Facebook just to hear the entire interview. But in the little time that I listened, and again, Vasan Bharat reinforced for me why he would be an excellent candidate to lead the UNC. Yes, because once you're dishonest, right, and you could spread propaganda and lies, and you figure because you have an accent, and you probably have letters behind your name, and you know a few big words, and you figure you could fool everybody with that. So Vasan Bharat must know because he was a minister. Yeah, he fooling me. Not fooling me at all. Right? Could fool people like Kingsley and them, people like Kunji and where's the other one, KFC and all these clowns who call in that evening program. Could fool them. Right? They would be impressed with that. Can't impress me. Yeah? And he said a lot of things in that little time, what I heard, that I will debunk at another time. But there was one thing in particular he spoke about. When the question was raised with respect, I can't remember if it was Brian who raised it. About yes, I think it was Brian. He claimed that Mr. Imbert has made on numerous occasions that when he became Minister of Finance, that in one of his first meetings with Jawala Rambaran, he was told that there's only enough money left to run the country for 3 days, that he was turning off the tap. And that is the critical part of that conversation, that he, Jawala Rambaran, as the central bank governor, right, and the controller, the man with the control over the overdraft, he made the decision that he was going to turn off the tap. Right? There's always missed that part. Now he is saying, and when he was challenged on it, Vasan Bharat, said, well, I know Mr. Imbert said that. But Vasan Bharat has shown himself to be a stranger to the truth, as I referenced for you all on Sunday, with respect to his claims that Gary Griffith's allegations were unfounded and untrue. He said, meeting Gary, talk about that happened, didn't happen. So we know he has a credibility problem. And I'm glad that Mr. Chance would have pulled him up, and so I don't know who else pulled him up, because I said I didn't get the first part of the interview. But that claim, and I just want to play that, right? Just that little piece with Jawala Rambaran. And I've done it before. But for the benefit of those who may not have heard, you see, as I said, they can't fool me with that nonsense. So. It's probably just, but anyway, I'm going to deal with it. Let me get this here. You say morning to JB Harper from the TPP. Every morning JB had to post up the anchor holes. As I asked him the other day, how many times a day do you check the rusty anchor to see if it's still holding? You know, the TPP said, well, the anchor, it's still holding. Yeah. It's rusty, but it's still holding. The chain looking like it could give way anytime, but it's still holding for now. It's a wonder you ain't get tetanus yet from that rusty anchor. But anyway, let me get this thing here. Come on, I'm on thing. Right.
The governor of the central bank came to the new Minister of Finance smiling to advise him that we only have cash to run the country for 3 days.
combated this lie that the country only had 3 days worth of money to run. First, we were already in September, which means at the end of that quarter, the oil monies would be coming in. We had about $5.5 billion US in the Heritage and Civilization Fund and over $10 billion US in official reserves. So there was no way that you could say that the country had no money and that the treasury was empty.
I think I better just play that again for the benefit of the fully dunce.
The governor of the central bank came to the new Minister of Finance smiling to advise him that we only have cash to run the country for 3 days.
Let me come back to this lie that the country only had 3 days worth of money to run. First, we were already in September, which means at the end of that quarter, the oil monies would be coming in. We had about $5.5 billion US in the Heritage and Civilization Fund and over $10 billion US in official reserves. So there was no way that you could say that the country had no money and that the treasury was empty. That is one of the big lies that has been propagated together with a series of lies, such as that there's been an economic turnaround.
Right. And in trying to debunk a lie, according to him, you're lying. Right? You see, and again, these guys figure because they hold in big position and they have letters after their names, that people, you could fool people. The simpletons and the fully dunce, the waterfront ilk, you could fool them. Because there's 3 things he said there. First off, he said we were at the end of the quarter and, the oil, the taxes from the oil revenue were coming in at the end of the quarter. The general election of 2015 was held on September 7th, right? September 7th. The cabinet would have been sworn in on September the 11th. So Mr. Imbert's first day of work would have been, first full day of work would have been 14th of September, right? 2 weeks before the close of the government's financial year. Monies had to be found in September to pay salaries to public servants, to pay things like pensions, senior citizens grants, to pay things like the other grants, public assistance, other social welfare grants, all of these different things. Everybody who had to get paid, who was on the government's payroll, whether you're working directly as a public servant or some other area, but you get your salary comes from the government. Monies had to be found in September to pay this. And we know that the usual pay date for persons in the employ of the state is usually around the 23rd of the month. But in the month of September, because it's the close of the government's financial year, usually these things might be paid a little earlier because they would normally close off accounts on around the 28th to facilitate whatever wrapping up needs to be done in preparation for the close of the government's financial year and the budget which comes subsequently, right? So Mr. Imbert needed money to pay these things, all of the government's monthly liabilities that I just mentioned. Now, people need to understand the government can only spend what is approved by the parliament, right? So every year when the budget is read, the Minister of Finance will bring his budget. He reads out, this is how much revenue we expect to get. This is the expenditure. Parliament will vote at the end of the budget debate. And then once the budget is passed, those measures, what's in the budget, you have authorization to spend, right? If the minister wants to spend money outside of that, he has to come back to the parliament, as is done every year with respect to the mid-year review, to ask parliament for permission to spend more monies, right? The variation of appropriations or the supplemental finance bill. We need to make some adjustments. We were planning to spend money on this project, but we decided we're not going to pursue this again this year. But the monies that were allocated for that, we want to move it to this, and we want to do that. Parliament has to approve it. That's why they come back to the parliament. And they vote on it. So when you see them with the big yellow box and they're going through, line item so and so, subhead so and so, line item so and so. And they ask questions. The opposition would ask questions and the respective ministers would answer and so on. So we understand that. And that's how the thing works. So when you allocate a certain amount of money, the expectation is that when September rolls around, you would have enough money to pay your bills. But when you decide to spend all the money, so to use a more practical example, you know that you get paid in August, right? You got paid in August, and you need to, this money that you got paid in August, you pay whatever bills, but you need to keep enough money on hand until the next payday in September. But if you spend out all the money by the second week or the first week in September, you're struggling how you're paying, how you're paying your bills, how you're paying passage, how the children going to school until the next payday in September, when you were supposed to budget to make sure you have enough money to last you to pay all of your expenses until September payday. But the UNC, the People's Partnership, right, seeing that defeat was coming, that they were going to get a curtail. So, well, in case we get Alex, you know what? We spent out as much as we could. As much as we could. Give out contract. Things, bills that should have been paid after the fact, because you know they say the government always takes long to pay. So plenty of people always complaining like that. But all of a sudden, and we read it, we are trying to find that article where you had briefs, legal briefs that were given out. And Anaram Logan could tell you, because when he came in as Attorney General, and all of a sudden, he got this windfall of money to be able to buy property here, there, and everywhere. And when the media interviewed him and asked him, you know, all these properties that you're purchasing and so on. So all of a sudden, as he became the Attorney General, where that money came from, and he indicated that the state had been owing him quite a lot of money in briefs, yeah, for a number of years. And as Attorney General, the man who gives the instructions to pay briefs, himself to himself, he gave instructions to himself to pay himself. So all the money they owed me, how much? Yes, payment. It came in a lump sum. So good thing he became Attorney General, and he was able to clear this backlog of arrears owed to him by the state. Right? So he got all that sort of money. Good for him. So we read things like that happening. Man got a brief today. He even see one day in the courthouse yet to know. But send an invoice 1 week after he was awarded the brief and get paid. We can do yet, but you'll get paid. So spend out all the money. So when after the election and this government come in, well, you know, the overdraft up out or no? What you say? Yeah, well, the overdraft that's supposed to give you the little blight. So the overdraft come like the credit card, right? And when you look, so my expenses for the day is $1,000. The limit on my credit card is $20,000. But I went on a spending spree, and all I have left is $3,000 on my credit card. Yeah, payday coming, I know. But payday is on the 23rd, and today is the 19th, or today is the 18th. And my expenses for the day is $1,000. And the only source of income that I have right now is the credit card. Yeah, payday coming. But if today is the 19th, 20th, 21st, how am I making out on the 22nd? How am I making out on the 23rd? So only have 3 days money left. What are doing? So when I listen to this clown, Jalal Ramran, trying to fool people, the fact of the matter is that central bank governor, he had control over the overdraft. He could have made a decision. He made a decision. He said, according to Mr. Inwood, he's going to turn off the tap. Turn it off. Right? So in so doing, Mr. Inwood now had to go and find the money to pay all of these monthly bills that came due, all these liabilities. So when I listened to Jalal Ramran saying, well, you know, we were at the end of the quarter and the money, we had taxes from the oil revenue coming in. Yes, Mr. Ramran, but it was coming in after September. It was coming in after September, sir. Because the taxes, people don't pay that until after the end of the quarter. You know, so like usually the beginning of October, middle of October is when they would pay these things. The money was needed at that point in time to pay all of these liabilities that came due. there should have been sufficient money in the overdraft to be able to meet all of the government's expenses until the next payday, which for the government's payday would be when these companies pay their taxes in October, the end of September. The money was needed on or about September the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd. And because the government of which he was part, well, he wasn't part of the government, but they put him there, decided to go on a spending spree in case they lost the election, created that situation. And we saw the exchequer account that went from 10 billion in overdraft in 2010 to 33 billion. When you go into the same Auditor General's report that they love to talk about, go and check it for 2015 and see the amount of money that was spent in September. Bills that were paid in September based on commitments that the People's Partnership undertook in August and July in anticipation of an electoral loss. So for him to come and say, well, money was coming in, yes, nobody is saying no. But the fact of the matter is the money was not available when it was needed. It was coming in after. So that was the first strike and the first lie that he told. Then he comes to say, well, we have the $5.5 billion in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Mr. Rambaran is well aware because the Heritage and Stabilization Fund falls under the central bank. He's well aware that the Heritage and Stabilization Fund Act was very specific as to the circumstances that would allow for any withdrawals from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Very specific. And that was put in there to prevent government from being able to go in there and just take out money. So the Act clearly said, I think it was in section 15 of the Act, which speaks to withdrawals and the circumstances, that where it is that there is a shortfall in actual revenue vis-a-vis projected revenue of 10% or more, then you could make that withdrawal. But you had to wait until the end of the financial year when all of your oil revenues come in, and then you could do an assessment to determine, well, okay, we projected $30 billion in oil revenue, but we didn't get the 30 billion. But you would only know that at the end of the year. So you cannot come in September the 20th and say, well, we're going to take out money from the Heritage and Stabilization. Well, hold your hand. It's not the end of the financial year yet. The oil revenues, the taxes from the oil revenues for the last quarter coming in October. So you have to wait until all that money comes in. And then you will know if there was a shortfall or not. So you can't make no withdrawal before that period of time. So to hear him talk that rubbish, right, is lie number 2. And then to talk about the country's foreign reserves. Really? That's the purpose of the country's foreign reserves? Mr. Amaran? To sell the country's foreign reserves to pay bills? Was that in the budget? No, it wasn't. Was that approved in the budget of October? Because the revenue streams that would have been identified in the budget was not the country's foreign reserves. So as the central bank governor, you ought to know better than that. Hence the reason, but it seems that the engineer, right, the square peg in the round hole, Colman Burt knew that. But the central bank governor, apparently, he didn't know that. And it's the same sources that Kamala Persad-Bissessar has identified. Whenever it is that the claim is made that she left the treasury empty, she always says, well, we left 5-point-something billion US in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund and we had the country's foreign reserves. But she can't tell you the exchequer account had this amount of money in it. Or the overdraft had this amount of money in it. She can't tell you that because it didn't. And that is why I read for you all the other day where she spoke about the government could have taken short-term loans that they could have borrowed. That is what she said. She, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, basically admitted the treasury was empty because she identified borrowings, debt. They could have undertaken short-term debt to pay these bills, these liabilities that came due in September. She couldn't identify any account, any government account that had money in it, despite the fact that her government had, according to her, the country's highest revenue, energy revenues in its history under her. But there was no account, no money in any account that the government could touch without having to go and borrow. And which is what Mr. Imbert eventually had to do. Having gone to the oil companies to ask them, here, what now? Yes, I know you're all going to, and yet the taxes and your royalties is due at the end of the quarter, and you're probably going to pay that. You're going to pay that sometime in October. but I need it now. I need a little something because I have bills, I have salaries to pay, I have pension to pay, I have social welfare to pay, so many things, so many bills that I need to pay now. You could give me advance. I could ask you to just pay 2 weeks early or 3 weeks early. Only to be told, come, you're joking, man. There's no tax to be paid. Well, not until 2027. Well, between 2024 and 2027. You didn't get a memo as yet? Yeah, well, talk to your predecessor now. He could tell you. Talk to Kevin Ramnarayan, talk to Kamla, and they would tell you. Yeah, you didn't know about the generous tax concessions that we got from those folks to come and drill, baby, drill, to find new oil and new gas. I didn't tell you about that. Yeah, go back and check now. But we will surely best though. I hope you get the money because we know the rat that could be caused if you don't pay salaries. Yeah? Good luck with that. Mr. Imbit is on record as having said that. Yeah, any of the oil companies come out and say, well, no, that didn't happen. Any of them said that? No, he had to go to the bank, for Citizens Bank, and borrow a little some. I need to pay my bills. So as soon as this government came in, they had to incur debt. As soon as they came in. But these clowns want to come and tell about how much money they borrow and the debt and the government borrow how much money. So when I listened to Vasan Bharat yesterday trying to debunk what Mr. Imbut said, shame on you, Mr. Bharat. As a former Minister of Trade and Industry, shame on you. As a former Minister in the Ministry of Finance, shame on you. Because you were there prior to becoming Mr. Imbut coming to office. The Ministry of Finance had 3 ministers. The substantive minister, $7.125 million or $1.65 million man, Hawaii, Vasan Bharat, and the man with the apparent speech impediment, Rudy Indarsing. They needed three people to run that ministry. So he was in that ministry immediately before Mr. Imbut came in. So he would have been intimately aware of what the country's finances were. So to come on radio, national radio, and lie, shame on you. But then again, that's one of the qualifying criteria to lead the UNC. So it's no wonder that you answered Mrs. Prasad-Bissessa's call to come back home, yeah, go back home, where you feel most welcomed and most comfortable in that den of iniquity, that house of ill repute. You feel comfortable there. Go and wallow in that filth, the swamp. Yeah, go there. Feel comfortable there. Shame on you. You feel everybody dotish. Really? But as I said, it had other things he said, but I don't have the time to debunk it this morning. Anita, as usual. I'll pull up this clock. Let me see. You know, the other day when Donald Trump was shot in the air, right? He had a brush with death. They said it's a good thing at that point in time, he turned his head at the angle that he did. Otherwise, today he would have been a footnote in the annals of history. In the annals of history, he would have been a dead man. Thank God. But anyway, but everybody was saying, you know, that brush with that he will be a changed man now. We're going to see a softer tone because now that the reality of his mortality has hit him, you're going to hear him speaking. He's going to be preaching now more unity and coming together and national unity and all of that. That didn't last long. For the first 15 minutes or so of his speech at the convention, you got that, and afterwards, he realized, well, what nonsense really going on here, man? Look, to hell with that, yes, teleprompter be damned. And he went back to being the old Donald that everybody knows. And since then, he has made the point, he spoke on that. He said, everybody said, well, you know, after he was almost assassinated, that he would be softer and more considerate, and he would be nicer. And he said, but I think I've actually gotten worse. He said that. He's gotten worse. And he's not going to be nice. He's not going to play nice with Kamala Harris. And we've seen it, that he has gotten worse, calling her recently a bum, that she is low IQ, lots of things. He's been very nasty towards Kamala Harris. And that's good for the Democrats, because when you see the kind of support that Kamala Harris is getting, I think last night they had white men a meeting, the Zoom call, white men for Kamala, even before the meeting started, I think they had some close to 60,000 white men, and they were able to raise quite a bit of money last night. Even before the meeting started, I think they had raised $450,000 or something like that. And then after the Zoom call, well, quite a bit of money. I don't have the exact figure, but quite a bit of money. So everybody coming together, white men, white women, black women, Asians, Hispanics, you name it. Everybody coming together in support of Kamala Harris. So the Republicans are scared, rightly. So Trump is doubling down and tripling down on his nastiness. So he has gotten worse. That brush with death seems, I don't know if it is, he probably saw hell and said, hey, yeah, well, looking good. Make sure I go there when I pass, anyway. But it seems to some extent we have our local version, at least in terms of the level of nastiness, and that the brush with death and the reality of one's mortality, rather than humble you, made you even worse. And I reference Inchan Ishmael, right? So he puts out a post. Well, there's two posts that I wanted to touch on. So you all know every time it rains, and we've been getting, some significant rain off and on these days. So over the last few weeks, we've had situations where significant rain fell in Port of Spain and downtown South Key, floods. That is nothing new. That has been happening over the years. And we know the issue with the geography of that area, reclaimed land and so on, the tide. When the water has to run off, if the tide is high, then you had to wait until, right? Or the water will run off slower. But also, there's the pump house right by the lighthouse there, which the government spent millions of dollars on. And whereas in years gone by, it would have taken quite a long time for the water to run off, hours in some cases. In this instance, with the assistance of the pump, now even when rain falls and you have this flood, the period of time that it takes for the water to run off is significantly less. So there was some rains yesterday, and as is the norm, South Key flooded again. And some people decided to take a video and post it up. So Mr. Ishmael decided to post the video on his Facebook page. With the caption, over 50 million was spent on drainage and pumps for this area. Great is the P, meaning urine, NM. Right? Now, there's a saying, money can't buy common sense. Right? If you're dotish, you're dotish. You could have how much money you want. If you're dotish, you will remain dotish. And this guy is walking evidence of that. Right? They will never show or tell you how long it took for the water to run off. But because they're so desperate for things to throw at the government, so rain falls. But what he should be happy about is the fact that with the heavy rains that have also been falling in his area in Bamboo, that unlike what happened last year, Bamboo in flood, because the pump's working very well in Bamboo, but the wretch wouldn't go and do a video to show, hey, look, rainfall, and the pump's working. Ain't no flood. Ain't no flood. But we still have some ways to go in the rainy season. But you want to put a post to talk nonsense about 50 million spent. Well, tell us what about the 120 million US that the People's Partnership, the loan they took from the IDB? Supposedly to fix the very same problem that you're highlighting today. Where did that money go? When Ganga Singh told us that flooding in Port of Spain would be a thing of the past by 2015, what happened with that? What of the infrastructure that they put in place up to 2015, the People's Partnership, that would have seen flooding in Port of Spain come down, and what of that, Mr. Ishmael? Why don't you talk about that? How much money did the People's Partnership spend? The PNM spent 50 million. How much did the People's Partnership spend to fix the same problem? You don't remember that? Because if they fix the problem, why does it still exist today? But you can't talk that. No, we wouldn't criticize that. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Let me go to post number 2 that he posted. To unseat the PNM, everyone needs to come together. UNC, NTA, Michaela, etc. Kamala is not stepping down. So to save this country, we all need to support her and the opposition parties. Contractors are willing to pump hundreds of millions of dollars into the PNM election campaign. The same contractors PNM said were crooks under the UNC. To most people on my page, I do not have to convince you that this is the most wicked, evil, corrupt administration ever to govern TNT. Let us now work together to bring about the change we all need. The most wicked, evil, corrupt administration ever to govern TNT. So he's now advocating, since Kamala not stepping down, we need to rally around her. She ain't going nowhere. So it seems that going into the election, she's going to be the leader of the UNC. And since we need to get rid of this wicked, evil, corrupt administration, we need to support Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Right? He's a Muslim. I wonder what Islam teaches about supporting certain things that is happening in the UNC. I don't know what I'm talking about. But among them, the fact that you have a deputy political leader who is on $1 million bail for fraud, misbehavior, conspiracy. Yeah, but we must, according to him, we all need to support her and the opposition parties. Support her. She, who has no problem with a man sitting in her cabinet who is under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. This man, who considers himself to be the quintessential Muslim, is telling you support that. Support a woman who supports that, right? Who has no issues and problems with that. Support a woman who has no issue with a man who she appointed as a senator, disrespecting the highest office in the land, right? Referring to the president as an insipid jackass. Support her. Support a woman who put another one in the Senate, another loudmouth lout, who has no problems denigrating women, right? Who has no problems coming to draw reference to tell you about if you're a guy and you have two women and one of them is African and the other one is East Indian, and all the African want every time you meet up with her, she wants you to carry her to fancy restaurants and spend your money, and she wants money for weave, and she wants money to do her nails, and she wants money for this and that, right? And she's contributing nothing. And then on the other hand, you have the East Indian woman who taking care of you, and she's spending her money on you, and when you all go out, you know, she don't have a problem with going KFC. Unlike the African woman who has a problem going KFC, she wants to go to Rizzoni's and she wants to go to Aioli. But the East Indian woman don't mind going and buying doubles, or you go down St. James and buy a roti on the side of the road. But she will go home and cook for you and spend her own money. Who would you choose? That is the kind of foolish, racist analogy that he would draw for comparison between the PNM, Dr. Rowley, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and the UNC. But the international telling you support that. Support a man who pushing that. Support a man who trying to gaslight persons of African descent to tell you, well, the PNM is supposed to be an African party, but they're not behaving like that under Rowley. Because when you look at the ethnic makeup of the cabinet, does that reflect an African party? That's what he's telling you. So you're trying to tell persons of African descent, hey, what's going on? And the PNM is supposed to be an African party, so the whole cabinet is supposed to be Africans. What Mbert doing there? What the Al Singh doing there? What Al Rawi doing there? What Stuart Chung doing there? What Kazim Hussein doing there? Because the cabinet ought not to reflect the multi-ethnic makeup of Trinidad and Tobago. Because they want to push this narrative that the PNM is an African party. And so therefore they must do everything African. So they could then use that now to run to their base and say, you see, Rowley only care about the African and at the expense of the East Indians. But here the Prime Minister will have none of it. None of it. Every program that they have is open to everybody. So the same people, right, who want to come and tell you, it's supposed to be an African party, but look at the ethnic makeup of the government bench. Look at the ethnic makeup of the cabinet. That is not an African party. Same ones want to come and afterwards now to come and tell you that Dr. Rowley racial and he don't like East Indians. But they were happy to say that Nazim Bash, the owner of Baby Jillian, for months we heard that's Rowley's best friend. That's Rowley's best friend. They wanted to say that the owner of one of these houses of ill repute, can't remember his name, Bullet, they call him. Yeah, that's Rowley's friend. And then see Rowley sit down on a couch with him. Yeah, that's Rowley's friend. So Dr. Rowley for them is a convenient racist, right? When it's convenient for them to say that he doesn't like persons of East Indian descent, they go talk that talk. And when it's convenient for them to tell you that he has his best friends, right, who they would tell you are involved in all manner of wrongdoing, are Dr. Rowley's best friends who happen to be of East Indian descent. Pick a struggle. You can't be half pregnant. It's either he's a racist or he's not. It's either he likes East Indians or he doesn't. They love to point to the picture when Dr. Rowley, that year when he went to play mass down in San Fernando, and the young East Indian girl came and took a wine on him. Yeah, what you see? Then he like Indian. It's either he does or he doesn't. But understand their playbook and what it is about. They're always talking about the PNM like to push the race card, and the PNM like to blow the racial dog whistle. No, the only people who talk race is them. And I see this next clown too, Susan Lower, want to get in on the act with this dotish talk about the PNM only voting race and they vote race and they vote race. If the PNM used to vote race, Pandey would never have been prime minister. If the PNM used to vote race, Kamla Persad-Bissessar would never have been prime minister. Because one cannot discount the fact, the contribution that was made by the PNM for them to get in office, disgruntled PNM. And they'll come and tell you, well, no, the PNM didn't vote for them. They just didn't vote. Really? But in 2020, you had probably the highest voter turnout in the country's history. Almost 500,000 persons voted. And trying to tell me that they didn't support the People's Partnership. I personally know people who today I still don't talk to because of that. Come to tell me nonsense or it's something new and give it a try. And if it don't work, we could always go back and vote for the PNM. They couldn't fool me. They fool all here. Right? So I know personally, firsthand, that there were some PNM supporters who voted for the People's Partnership. So miss me with that BS. So when I hear them talking nonsense about the PNM supposed to be an African party, it seems that they forgot that even in the days of Eric Williams, some of the most high-profile members of the PNM hierarchy were persons of East Indian descent. The likes of Errol Mahabir and Kamaluddin Mohammed, who Mr. Yates often tells us about, who were seen to be possible heirs apparent to Mr. Williams. But we know the contrary to the narrative that they like to tell us as to why George Chambers was selected as opposed to Mahabir and Mr. Mohammed, that it had to do with race because they were East Indians. Mr. Yates always tells us the real reason why. The real reason why they weren't selected. But that side wouldn't talk about that. They don't ever tell you about that part, you know. They don't ever tell you about that part. So this dotishness about the PNM as an African party. We know for years we hear about people like the Montanos and the Hadids and stuff. You had under Mr. Manning, I think Mr. Hadid, who was Vice President of the Senate. You had Danny Montano, who was at one time, I think, President of the Senate. And all of these different things. So the PNM has always been a cosmopolitan party. All-inclusive, all-embracing. But you see, they need to continue to push this narrative that the PNM is supposed to be an African party to satisfy themselves that it's okay for them to project the UNC as being an East Indian party. Something they cannot deny, right? Because when it comes to voting, and they love to say that the PNM does not vote race, but the UNC supporters don't do that. UNC supporters don't vote race. They vote on issues. And they vote on policy. They don't vote on race. No. But yet still, when you look at the constituencies that they are in control of, the UNC could say, without fear or favor, there are certain seats that they guaranteed to get. And it has nothing to do with policy. And it has nothing to do with issues. Because if it had to do with issues, there's no way in hell David Lee could represent the UNC in Pointe-à-Pitre. If it had to do with issues, there is no way that Padarat could represent Princestown in the next election, given the fact that he's still supposed to be subject of a police investigation. Miss me with that. If it had to do with issues, there's no way that Rudal Munilal, who is before the court on that EMBD matter, could be the standard bearer for the UNC in the next election for Oropuch East. No way. If they voted based on issues and not based on race, there is no way that Ravi Ratiram could be their standard bearer for Kuva North in the next election. If they voted on issues, there is no way that Arnold Ram, who was fired from 2 public utilities companies for misbehavior, gross misconduct, could be representing Caroni Central. No way. If they used to vote on issues. So we know what they vote on. It's not issues. So miss me with that. All you from the fully dons who want to talk that up, miss me with that nonsense. We know what they vote based on. It has nothing to do with issues. Nothing to do with policy. Talking nonsense about shameful or shameless Vassan Bharat coming to talk nonsense about under the 2 terms of the UNC whether it be under Pandey or Kamala Prasad predecessor, that you had more development in this country than you had under the PNM for the entire time that they were there? Yeah, he has to be a madman. Has to be. But I'm coming back to Insha and Ishmael. Let me go back there. So, pull this back up. So, he put up another post yesterday with the same floods. And the caption, imagine I have to compare Guyana. If the contractors who did the pump and drainage works was under President Irfan Ali, right, they would have been gone. But under Rohan, these fellas get more and more contracts. You know, I want to ask this clown. You're always talking about how the same contracts that the same contractors that the PNM said were corrupt are getting contracts today. So apparently Trinidad has over 100 contractors who do road paving. So the government has a choice that they could say, well, okay, these 5 corrupt or these 6 corrupt, so no contracts for them. So we will choose from the next 95. Who are if it is that you have a limited pool of contractors who have the capacity, the experience, and the technical wherewithal, and the equipment to do the work, a limited pool, regardless of whether or not under the last administration there may be accusations against some of these people of bid rigging and the like. The fact is, the government has a limited pool to choose from, a very limited pool. So if 3 or 4 of the largest contractors who have the capacity, they have the equipment, they have the workers, they have the financial wherewithal to do the work, who you want the government to go to? Regardless of the fact that some of them may be before the courts, the fact is the government doesn't have a choice because the pool of persons they could choose from is limited. So when I hear this clown, this bald-headed clown talking nonsense about the same contractors that the PNM say corrupt, they get in contracts. Who to give it to? You want them to do like Farley and go and give the contract to a roofing company that has no experience, no equipment, nothing to pave road, but will link up with one of the very same contractors? You see one of the same corrupt contractors to use their equipment and their workers to do the work? That's what you want them to do? Mr. Ishmael? You want them to come to you? You could pave road? You just want a matter against the police service there with respect to some monies. They will win him some $830,000. The balance owed to him from the contract that he would have gotten to fix vehicles, police vehicles, while he partner was the commissioner of police. Yeah, so apparently he hired the same lawyer. And the state conceded. The police said, yes, we owe him $800 and something thousand, and he was able to win that. So he beat in his chest. So some of the $1.9 million that he spent on his health recently, according to him, he got back a little something to kind of, put back in the coffers to replace that $1.9 million that he spent to remove, I think, one of his kidneys and something else. Apparently, yes, he had a brush with death. But like Donald Trump, instead of reflecting on how close he came to being just a name, well, they don't have headstones, to being 6 feet under, seems that he has become more nasty. Let me go again. So, let me see if I get it here. Put out another post. Hines demoted. Scotland is the new big heavy national security. Colm demoted. Minister of Everything Stuart Young is now acting PM in the absence of Rowley. In this country, anybody could be anything. But we know what you can't be. Smart. There's something else I wanted to. Where is it, buddy? But every time he always likes to criticize the PNM and refer to the PNM in some of the most derogatory terms. He should put that up on a big sign and put it outside every one of his businesses so that when PNM supporters who are minded to support you, right, come to your business, they could be reminded of what you think of PNM. And I keep telling these clowns, Keith Rowley is not the PNM. Stuart Chung is not the PNM. Coleman Butch is not the PNM, right? The PNM is a party, an institution with hundreds of thousands of members. So that when it is that you want to attack the government and you generalize the PNM and the PNM, understand that you're not speaking to the government alone, sir. You speak to all of us who hold party cards. You speak to all of us who support the People's National Movement. So that when you come with your nastiness, right, put up a sign outside Brilliant, put up a sign outside ROC to remind PNM people of what you think of them and what you think of the party. So if they want to put God out of their thought to come and support you, right, they remind, hey, oh shucks, thanks for the reminder, and they could go elsewhere and patronize. Even though the elsewhere that they go to might probably feel the same way. But guess what? At least they're not making it public in the nasty, vindictive way that he does it. Right? But some people had to burn to learn. But I just thought I would, when I come across these things, it upsets me. So let me go with the next clown, Suzette Lower. Suzette Lower, who ran from Trinidad and Tobago and went to the Netherlands to live with her husband in her husband's home country, but always has a comment or one opinion on what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So in reacting to Stuart Young's recent appointment to act as Prime Minister, which I think that acting appointment comes to an end today, I believe Dr. Oli will be back today. But what's suppose Stuart Young will ever only be able to act. The minute they put him to head the PNM loses their core base supporters. So Young can act all he wants, and he'll always be only in supporting roles. And again, she's another one in the clown car who has this belief or this feeling that the PNM operates in a certain way, right? That the supporters of the PNM, the membership of the PNM, that we expect that we don't embrace other ethnicities. Stuart Young has worked extremely hard over the last 3 years since he was appointed Minister of Energy. And I dare to say that perhaps he has been one of the most successful ministers of energy the country has ever had. But what he has been able to achieve with respect to all of these long-term gas contracts that we've signed with Venezuela, 20-year, 30-year contracts, which will secure Trinidad and Tobago's energy future for a long time. We are talking here about contracts, and we're talking about negotiations that have been ongoing for decades, from Mr. Manning, come to the People's Partnership, come to the current administration, for decades. And he, in the space of 3 years, was able to bring that to a conclusion. As Dr. Rowley said, doing dutiful shuttle work between Port of Spain, Washington, Caracas, Port of Spain, Washington, Caracas. Right? Doing all of that at the expense of family time. Because yes, the man, I understand he has kids and so on. He has his family. But he, unlike them on the other side, has no problem putting country first. And so he has been able to accomplish certain things that Kevin Ramnarine never could and was seemingly not even interested in. Because anybody could point me to any time Kevin Ramnarine sat down around the table with anybody from Venezuela to discuss Lauren Manatee, to discuss Dragon, or any one of those things. Anyway, as I keep saying, the only accomplishment, the biggest accomplishment that Kevin Ramnarine had as minister was based on a newspaper article that under him, 8 energy companies lost over $10 billion in revenue. And these are the companies. We're not talking about the government, the money that the government would have lost in taxes from that $10 billion that was lost in revenue because of gas curtailments. Because he was there just like for window dressing. I wouldn't judge in a Ramgood session, but has very little to show for his tenure as Minister of Energy. When it is that Carolyn C. Prasad Beechan, in the 1 year that she was there, highlighted the fact that she would have seen internal audits from a number of years for Petrotrin showing this peak oil thing. He said, I don't know nothing about that. But you telling me? That's what he said. And if it is that he is able to sum up 1 ounce of honesty or integrity within himself and were to do a comparison between his tenure, his 4-year tenure as Minister of Energy as compared to Stuart Young's 3-year tenure, he will admit it's chalk and cheese. And that is why it's difficult for them to congratulate Stuart Young when it is that he accomplishes these things. That is why they will not post these things on their Facebook page or any of their social media platforms. Things that will benefit. But you know what? He will post up on social media articles about the election in Venezuela and put up a caption about how it impacts this country's economic future. Yes, that is what he will talk about. But he wouldn't. But when it is that these very things, these contracts, long-term contracts that has definite bearing on the country's economic future, you would never congratulate. You wouldn't put aside your pettiness, your political pettiness, right? You wouldn't take off your political blinders and say, well done, Stuart Young. Congratulations. But any piece of news that comes that threatens these things, you're quick to post it up. Whether it be David Lee, whether it be Kamala Prasad Bisesa, whether it be Jayanti Lakshmidiyal, I understand, congratulations. I know that I think she may have delivered. If so, congratulations, right? And the baby came in a fortuitous time for her while the parliament is on recess. So at least, she could spend some time with the new one. And by the time the parliament reopens, hopefully, well, for her, because if it is she out for any lengthy period of time, that's it. Throat bust. Come to find somebody else to replace her in a heartbeat, because she changes senators like she changes. Well, I'll leave it to you all to interpret. But anyway, they will not congratulate the government on these things. Positives. So wait for it. You saw what happened. Nicolas Maduro has declared himself the winner of Sunday's elections, while the opposition in Venezuela is claiming, they too are claiming victory, saying that they would have gotten some 72 or 73% of the vote. So both sides are holding their position that they won, right? And you already have calls now from various quarters calling on the international community to come forward and condemn Nicolas Maduro and condemn his administration and like. So it's only a matter of time before the leader of the opposition and opposition forces start calling on the government of Trinidad and Tobago to stand with Venezuela and to denounce Nicolas Maduro and denounce his administration. That's what they're going to be calling for very soon. I find they take long. That should have come since last night. But don't worry, it might come today or tomorrow. But rest assured, it's coming. It is coming because as more and more international entities weigh in on what's happening in Venezuela and the outcome of the election, it stands to reason. It's only a matter of time before the opposition forces in Trinidad start calling on the government to attempt to put pressure on the government to speak out against Nicolas Maduro and his government in an attempt to do what? They don't care about Venezuela. They don't care about the Venezuelans. We know what their real motive is, right? Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young and whoever has come out and calls on Mr. Maduro to step down or whatever it is, we know the damage. And eventually, if it is that it sorts itself out where Mr. Maduro ends up remaining in office, which is a strong possibility, that could therefore damage any negotiations that the government has going forward with respect to not just those contracts that have been signed, but any other potential contracts that may be signed for other gas fields that Trinidad and Tobago may share with Venezuela, or even gas fields that we don't share with Venezuela. Because Venezuela does not now have the infrastructure to monetize natural gas. Their focus has always been on oil, and the monies that they've been earning for property has been more than sufficient to satisfy the country's needs before these sanctions were placed on them, which would sell their oil to drill for oil and the like, right? In the absence of that infrastructure, and Trinidad and Tobago, the country within closest proximity to Venezuela that has that infrastructure that can monetize this gas and give Venezuela the much needed economic benefit that they need, right? We are first in line. But we know the UNC would more than love to mash up that relationship, to damage that. For Maduro to say, you know what? Well, if that is the position of Trinidad and Tobago, to hell with all it. Cancel all them contracts. No dragon gas, no manatee, no mannequin coquina. Forget that. And they would be more than happy. And then we'll hear them talking about, oh, you see, Probably put all the eggs, all the country's eggs in the Venezuela basket, and all look what come and happen. They just waiting, salivating, hoping, praying that something happen. Because the US right now has taken so far has taken a measured approach. They are saying we want to see the official results, we want to see the numbers, so that we could determine whether or not Nicolas Maduro is in fact the winner. So they ain't really flexing the muscle as yet. Right now, they're in the throes of their election, right? So yes, Venezuela is on the map, but we're taking it light for now. But we know those on the other side who call themselves patriots and who are concerned about the country's economy, hoping that it goes the way of this outcome, that the US will say, well, you know what, we're reinstating full sanctions against Venezuela, all, which might even impact our special OFAC license, right, to bring pressure to bear on Nicolas Maduro. But there's the other side of it. The US, again, has to temper that, because the more pressure that they put on Venezuela through sanctions and the more economic hardships that come about in Venezuela as a result of these sanctions, they're going to see more and more Venezuelans migrating to the US, especially given the concessions that the Biden administration has given to Venezuelans to live and work in the US. And given the migration problem or the immigration problem that the US is facing from other countries, Latin American countries and so on, they don't need an influx of Venezuela, which has a population of well over 33 million people. They don't need that. So they need to tread lightly with respect to these sanctions, right? Because if you ease these sanctions, things improve in Venezuela. Venezuelans who have left that country are more likely to go back home. But if you tighten the grip and you make it worse and the people cannot survive, they are going to leave Venezuela and they're going to come to your borders. They're going to come to your country looking for work. All the family members who are there and who are thriving are doing well. They're going to leave Venezuela to come there, and it exacerbates your immigration problem. So right now, the US government finds itself between a rock and a hard place. Yeah, but we will see how that works out. But we know here, the opposition here who fancies themselves to be the government and waiting, fingers crossed, and they hoping that it goes the other way, so that if, I shouldn't even be saying that, but I know it has some software PNM people. If they were to come back into office next year, they need an excuse for the possibility that all of these deals that have been signed, if they go sour because of the position that they have taken against Maduro and his administration, right? That Mr. Maduro might decide he don't want any business with them, no dealings with them. They have to deal with that. And the last thing they want is to accept the blame for that. But if they could give another reason, well, it's not our fault, and it's because the US imposed sanctions and it's the US and the US did that, so don't blame us. Right. But they call themselves patriots. I'm looking at the time here, so many other things I wanted to touch on, but let me just touch on something really quickly. Right? Based on an exchange that I had with a member of the Fully Duns last night. You know, from time to time, they want to come and jump on your case and talk about crime and yeah, that's their big thing, crime. And under Kamala, we were so safe. And if Kamala was in office, it was still the prime minister, the country would have been safe. Let me just remind them of a few things. That PNM invented home invasions and it's PNM miscreants. That's what I love to tell. It's PNM miscreants and it's PNM children who committed all these crimes. So let me just remind them. Article dated March 20th, 2015. Daily Express. Vernon Dilemma robbed wife beaten to a pulp. Kamala was prime minister. Former vice chairman of the Congress of the People, Vernon Dilemma, and his wife Jennifer were beaten and robbed at their Santa Margarita, St. Augustine home early yesterday morning. St. Joseph police confirmed that the attack occurred around 5:45 a.m. Police said around that time, Jennifer Dilemma, 74, awoke when she heard their dogs barking. When she walked outside to see what was going on, she was confronted by two bandits, both armed with guns. The men overpowered the woman and began beating her repeatedly about the face, following which one began choking her until she fell unconscious. Police said when they spoke to her briefly yesterday, she told them the man's actions were so fast she was unable to raise an alarm. The men left her lying outside the house. The two bandits then went inside where they confronted Vernon, who was still asleep. They began beating him, following which they robbed him of an undisclosed sum of cash, jewelry, and his licensed firearm. The two bandits then escaped. St. Joseph police arrived on the scene and took the couple to the St. Augustine private hospital where they were both treated and discharged. Dilemma told CNC3 yesterday his wife was recovering, but she was not comfortable. And he said on Friday night he had been looking at cricket on TV and retired to bed during the early hours of yesterday morning. He said when the bandits confronted his wife, one of the two men jumped and beat her with a revolver. They beat her to a pulp, and then two of them dragged her 15 feet across concrete and left her lying outside the back door. He said the bandits then confronted him in their bedroom and woke him up shouting, "Get out of bed. We come for your money and your jewelry." He said the country's crime situation had gotten out of control. Let me repeat that. He said the country's crime situation had gotten out of control. This is the 20th of March, 2015. Keith Rowley wasn't the prime minister. It was a frightening experience, especially when they told me that my wife is already dead. Don't worry about her, said Dilemma. St. Joseph police are continuing investigations. We're going again. Cascade residents, prisoners in homes. Spate of robberies, forced voluntary lockdown. Residents of Cascade said they have become prisoners in their own homes because of an upsurge in burglaries and armed robberies in the last 2 months. People who live on 2nd Avenue and Mount Hololo Road say that they have been victims of frequent robberies and home invasions, some of which were violent confrontations. The affected residents, who comprise mostly retirees and professionals, were unable to give an exact figure for those who are victims of the spate of robberies, but said more than 20 take place each month. More than 20 home invasions and robberies take place each month. This is an article dated the 30th of April 2012. Keith Rowley wasn't the Prime Minister and the PNM wasn't in office. The community is home to several prominent figures, including Congress of the People Deputy Chairman Vernon Dilemma, Senior Counsel, and before he left the country, former Urban Development Company of TNT Chairman Calder Hart. When the TNT Guardian visited the district, several elderly residents admitted the area was plagued by bandits, but many declined to comment on the situation, fearing for their safety. One couple was willing to speak in the hope that the publicity would spur authorities to act to protect them and their neighbors from the attacks, which they claimed have become a daily occurrence. A daily occurrence. 68-year-old Scott, not his real name, who has lived in the community with his family for most of his life, said the latest incidents occurred at his home last Tuesday afternoon. Scott said the break-ins and armed robberies started about 2 years ago and have gotten worse in the past 2 months. I was sitting in my porch having a drink when 2 young boys came calling by my gate, Scott said. And he said when he checked, he was confronted by the men who drew a gun and forced him into the house. My wife was inside and they made both of us lie on the ground facing away from them. They keep asking for cash and gold, Scott said. Scott, who was trembling during the interview, said he and his wife did what the two bandits ordered. They tied us up with cords from the telephones, and they conducted their own search of the house. They said the torment lasted for about 20 minutes, and the thieves stole all of his wife's jewelry. I don't know why this thing keep doing me that way. Right. He said they took the keys from my car, put all of the items in it, and drove off. The main thing is my car. I feel lost without it. Now I can't go to the post office or the supermarket. And although he and his wife, who is also in her 60s, were tied up by the attackers, they said they were both fortunate not to be harmed. The couple were visibly traumatized, said they believe a greater police presence in the area was needed. They said almost 80% of their neighbors had been victims of attacks, with incidents occurring every day, and sometimes there are multiple break-ins in one day. 80% of their neighbors. 80%. But you have the fully dons want to tell you that when Kamala was in office, crime was under control. This is the worst the crime situation has ever been in the country. You ain't feeling safe behind your own doors. That's what they're telling us. But here it is. This man, Cascade, telling you 80% of his neighbors have been victims of attacks. We're going again. So, I'm going to get it here. This article is dated 28th of November 2013. Banks lose 17 million. Police and senior banking officials yesterday confirmed that bandits made off with $17 million in local currency and US $150,000 during the daring heist in the Twin City, East Trinidad area on Wednesday, which left a veteran security officer dead. The robbery has been described as one of the largest in the nation's history by both senior investigators assigned to the case and top members of the banking sector. Senior banking officials said the money, which was packed in several bags, was an accumulation of funds to replenish several commercial banks in Tobago, including Scotiabank and state-owned First Citizens. Initial reports had suggested the bandits made off at over $250,000. And given the precision nature of the attack, police are not ruling out the existing or former members of the protective services were involved in the crime. Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of anti-crime operations, Glenn Hackett, in a telephone interview yesterday told TNT Guardian last night that the police intended to explore all possibilities, and he said while the evidence so far does not suggest that police or soldiers were involved, we would not completely rule it out. Hackett said members of the crime scenes unit were scouring the 3 stolen vehicles left behind by the robbers with a view to extracting any evidence which could help solve the crime, and he confirmed that no one has yet been arrested. Police confirmed yesterday that they were yet to receive an official confirmation of the robbery from Sentinel Security Services Limited or any word on exactly what was stolen during the robbery. Messages left for top officials of Sentinel by the Guardian were not returned yesterday. Senior officers at the Port of Spain Criminal Investigations Department confirmed yesterday that they had to call in executive members of Sentinel Security Services last year after a series of robberies, including a strike on a cash-in-transit van in September 2012 at Gasparillo, where $1.2 million was stolen. In July 2012, more than $200,000 was stolen from 2 Sentinel guards in Point Fortin. In December 2011, the company's head office located at the corner of Stone Street and Duke Street in Port of Spain was broken into and $200,000 was stolen. Banking sources said that the courier service was on a routine trip to the Piarco Airport around 4:30 a.m. along the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway near the Twin City Industrial Estate when it was rammed from behind by a black Ford Ranger, which was loaded with bags of cement. In the rear seat, new information released by police now suggests that the 3 shooters emerged and began firing at the panelman. Let me give you all one more before I open the lines. 2 held for robbery and murder. December 24th, 2014, Christmas Eve. 2 men were arrested in Tobago on Wednesday morning in connection with the murder of 65-year-old Sylvia Edwards. Edwards was gunned down and robbed of approximately $100,000 on December 17th as he was about to exit his car to enter the Thor Credit Union on the compound of the Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities. 1 man from Lambo, Tobago remains in police custody as inquiries continue into the murder. The murder of the father of 3 body murder toll in Tobago to 8 for the year. Right? Yeah, but Tobago was peaceful. It's only under when Rowley is Prime Minister, you have an upsurge in crime now in Tobago. Blame Rowley. Blame Hines. The murder of the Inspector Earl Arthur has appealed to business owners to desist from walking around with large sums of cash. Either business persons employ the services of a security firm or stagger the times in which deposits of monies are concerned. Do not wait until the close of business to convey large sums of money. They can also call the nearest police station, and we have officers on patrol. And once the arrangements are made, we have officers who can assist in accompanying them. Arthur insisted that he's predicting a decrease in crime in Tobago for 2015. I have many more like that I could read for you all, but in the interest of time, right? Because it's already 8:07. But we will cover some more on another day. But just let those hypocrites know the next time they want to talk about crime and under Kamla, crime was under control and under Kamla this and under Kamla that. My eye. It was under Kamla that you had that murder up in Paria, right? Where the family, the mother and the granddaughter and the little baby that was killed. You remember that? That happened under Kamla. Yes. But they forget all of these things. But we will visit some more of those another time. Let me just set up this thing here. Hypocrites like them. $7701763. I think probably from next week I'll start taking voice notes. Yeah, so we will play some of your voice notes if it is that you're not getting through when you try to call, right? So, but we'll start out from next week. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dom. How are you?
Morning, I am good.
You know amazing about the people in yellow. What do you think in yellow? Hypocrisy. 1918 in Point Fortin, an Indian man kidnapped and killed a child. He was 3 years old. He was stabbed 5 times. That was his first kidnapping, killing in Trinidad and Tobago. Then, before you open your mouth, Google some stuff. Investigate who was the first kidnapper, killer. Then Paria, she was raped and murdered. She was 16 months old. What is 16-month-old child have to give you? And the man who killed him, the child, he do like sardine. He wants survival. The girl in Maloney was raped. Kamla was prime minister. The child in Josie who followed through and suspect, alive, Kamla was prime minister. How they quiet? What the senile? How convenient. The guard who died, that's my friend's uncle. You know the airport run? That was her uncle. How do you talk about that? UNC is the only political gang in this land, and around 3.3 million from TCT, and have the goal to contest election last year of LGE. Why is still there? Mr. Swift, legal firearm, he's still there. The alley man who pulled gun on his ex, he's still there. Satan, you can't correct sin. Do not condemn people when you're guilty of sin from day one. And anybody who votes for UNC, or your wholesale dotish. UNC vote race. They have yet to vote on issues. And it's always your mother so and so. They have no ideas how to run the party from our nation. You bring Barrett back in. A dog returned his vomit. You condone human trafficking. H.L. Ishmael is rejected. Because when you wore the red jersey, you had no issue then. You are confused. And the 1.8 million could have fixed the road and built a guard route. You waste the money because you will waste of time and space. Damagon, have a good day. Bye, my love.
Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Hi, morning, Dominic.
Hey, Jen, morning.
I put from another device. I hope you hear me properly.
Yes, loud and clear.
Morning to all those who log on to Factor 17. Pandey, his response to crime was to throw his hand up in the air literally and say basically he don't know what to do.
Yes.
Wasn't Kamala Prasad's such a way to deal with crime was to call an illegal SOE, where 8,000 African youths from around there, so all those areas that just want to vote for them and lock them up without even having a charge, without nothing to arrest them, was that her plan and her crime plan. First of all, I don't know if the government that solves crime. I know there's a Ministerial National Security with a minister there, and UNC would have changed several, even one of them was a DJ. So I don't know what experience the DJ had. He must say he would have spin crime and spin it, I don't know. But I don't know the Ministerial National Security and the Minister of National Security who want to solve crime or find a solution to crime. I think that ministry will be directed by the agency that actually treats with crime, the police service and all the other areas will say, well, this is what they need, and they feel that is what they need to help them in their efforts to crime. And the government or the minister will make sure those things are given to them and that policies are put in place via laws, because that is what a government will do. Go in the parliament to pass laws to help assist in the fight with crime. But Jayanti and Anna Ram Logan didn't they go and fight all of the Privy Council so that murderers could get bail in this country, overturning a 150-something-year-old law. Where no murderers could get bail. Isn't that helping to contribute to crime? Haven't they gone in the parliament and sat down there and not given the government no support to pass no legislation in this country? And if they have to pass it, the government has to basically water it down, a shadow of itself, in order for them to support it. So when people on the chat there and others talking about crime in this country, the UNC has contributed to crime. Because ask this question, they always say when PNM come into office, crime will be high. Ask yourself why every time UNC is voted out of office, the crime is high. Because I heard Philip Alexander say that Gary said the UNC paid criminals $40 million to hot up the place. We heard Gary in front of JSC say that one of Dr. Rudan Munilal was meeting with criminal elements, not we say so, and they spoiled some meetings that went to have any hired, and then they called him, and then he went across and he said something all that. That is what we heard. So when we're talking about crime, finger and put the UNC right smack in the middle of it. Because Jack Warner said the UNC is the most corrupt party in this country, and the legacy they will leave is a legacy of corruption. Corruption involves crime, because corruption is crime. We heard Dr. Devan Maharaj say the UNC, well, a member in the UNC involved in human trafficking and prostitution. That is crime, and he still sits down there. You see, basically, a $1 million bail for fraud. He has been charged with that. That is corruption. That is crime. And the list goes on and on. So when you're talking about crime, put the UNC right in smack in the middle of it. We saw the Tiago airport that became the biggest corruption scandal in this country. That is crime. Even one of their own, Ramesh Maraj would have brought a forensic auditor from Canada, Bob Linguist, to investigate that, and he found and said it was a milking cow. It was the biggest massive corruption in this country that was under UNC. So when you're talking UNC, put crime right there. And ask yourself again, not why when PNM come into office and the crime does increase. Ask yourself why UNC, when they come into office, crime does increase. I'm asking a question based on all that I say. Is it because they are facilitating crime? I'm asking a question. So that when they're not there to fund the crime, that the people who did not fund the crime are just asking a question. That no, they ain't get no money, everything drives so that they do certain things. I just asking a question, and that's based on what Abdullah say, based on what Roche say, based on what Jack say, based on what Makanda Daga say. So they can't say we try to insinuate anything, we ask him. And you see, Bassam Barat, I've lost all respect for him. All respect, because to me, him joining with the UNC saying he's endorsing human trafficking and prostitution. If nothing else, you see, those two things, that is what have me most concerned, because he agreed with Dr. Devan Maharaj that there's prostitution in the UNC and a member in the UNC is facilitating it. When he said he himself was propositioned by a prostitute. And today, that man is going back in front of the UNC and coming on radio to talk. Let me tell you something, Pastor Maran, your knife and fork behavior or your knife and fork education and your smooth talk ain't going to help you. You have shown yourself to be just as corrupt by your action. I'm going back with the UNC, the same UNC, where Kamala say, you want to talk about country? You have to love your party first. That's what she said, so is it? And then she said, go to hell. I said, you went to hell, as you said, Dominic. You went to hell and they like hell. So you come back now, so all of a sudden it's party for country and you want to come to save this country. But Pastor Barat, you're an embarrassment and a shame. You have no balls, you show that. You know the men who have balls, but I'm hoping that Dr. Devan Maharaj is not the next one to go back, you know. But right now, he have more balls than you. You know who have more balls to Ramesh Maharaj? You know who again will stand to because they have enough balls to walk for the UNC, but you're going right back crawling. I can't even say it's a dog because a dog is loyal. A dog is useful, and a dog is a man's best friend. You have become an enemy of the people of Barat, going back again with the UNC. And as I close, we have to know the assignment for 2025. We don't get tired of this stupid talk and the hate they're pushing. That is all they have to push. It's hate, and crime. And crime under them was the same thing and worse. Because that's called an SOE to deal with it. And we're the only lock up again and say 8,000 African youth, and they cannot save their life because John Stanley was the Minister of National Security. He's 8,000. And this man, Paul Richards, he would have said 7,000. So we believe it's 8,000 because he's not just 30 ministers. 8 is 8. But you know what? This is how much time the government would have changed Minister of National Security. Under the UNC, they changed about 5 and 6 times. And none of them had a solution. At least the government come with something, split the responsibility of the Minister of National Security. Put the one who knows about criminal law, who internationally, regionally have done work and locally, and get them those areas to treat it. And very well, we may really see that is what is needed. We can already see he's getting a lot of support from the Police Welfare Association. I'm seeing he's getting the support and they're excited to work and treat them. Probably that is what is needed. But there's not one solution to crime. So anybody who's looking for one solution to crime, they'll be deluding themselves because crime is multifaceted. Because as human beings commit multifaceted, there's not one thing alone to treat the crime. We need all hands on deck. The homes also have to be involved. The community, the church, the school, the environment, everything plays a part. Diet, everything plays a part. And finally, I want to say, they were trying to distract you, and I firmly believe that the UNC using the playbook of the Trump campaign and Trump and the supporters by bringing alternative things and saying that is fact. This country has shown under Dr. T. Christopher Rowley, economically it has grown. Because I'm reading where that steel company bought Hanson Matal. I know the same. That will create stable jobs. How much jobs it will create? How the downstream and that. The Chamber of Commerce in this country supported, excited about it. We see what happened in Phoenix fast. We see what happened under Minister Chiojong FC. The deals coming back. Those things are for sustainable jobs, downstream jobs, all kind of activity happening in this country. That's recently 150 young farmers were given 2 acres of land, a starter house, $20,000 to get into agriculture. They're not watching those things and they want to tell we under this government nothing happening. They lie. But why is it they still have to come out and always preach negative? Because they have nothing else. Kamala ain't have no clue. She don't have no idea. She lead a team that Jack Warner said in history, the legacy to this country, the UNC will be the most corrupt government in this country ever see. All the ministers, everybody corrupt. I'll leave it there. Dominic, you have a blessed one. They do lie in the engineers. And for the flooding, all them lands down there by city gate, all of it reclaim land. That is the sea. So anytime tide high, down there will always flood because that was the sea. You have to look at the runoff, and that's how you know that the pumps working and that the measures put in place working. But you can't stop flooding down in city gate, and especially now with population growth and people filling all up on all of the hills and things and indiscriminate dumping. You could stop down in town from flooding all up Chacon Street. You could stop that all there was the sea. So let's get with it. It's the runoff we're looking at. All this is different drainage and for we see him mention Ishmael. He will come back more hateful because that's what he have inside him. That brush he had just now there, that ain't doing nothing for him. But let me tell you something, it have a God, and God is the boss, and the $2 for free. We know the assignment 2025. And always put it up on YouTube, put it up on Facebook. What is the assignment 2025? I want to see all you put it up. Let me know if you understand what is the assignment come 2025. There be Patsy, everybody, all you put up Constance, Roxanne, put it up. Where's the assignment 2025? I'll go on with that. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good morning.
Hi, morning.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to you, Mr. Roman. Good morning to the listeners, callers of another segment, Facts or Stubborn Things. Dominic, well, I must say, Jenny, go to the head of the class. Go to the head of the class, Miss Jenny. Yes, and you said it all. Dominic, now, we want to talk about the UNC want to talk about crime and criminality that is plaguing the country right now, right? Like, they forgot that when they were there in 2010 to 2015, what transpired? No, it has so much of them because I have a list here. If I had to talk, I might take up the whole program, right? From 2010 to 2015, right? Let me remind our listeners and followers and callers, right? The UNC/partnership government then made 257 blunders in that 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. 257 blunders. Right? Now, I will just go through some. I ain't going through all. Right? Who can recall May 2010 when Dr. Rowley objected to the appointment of Jack Warner as minister, and the Goat Boy and Tadeyelos defended Warner, citing legal advice. May 2010, awarded contracts without proper procedures. July 2010, the 10/2010, Dr. Rowley protests on Nizam Mohammed appointment as head of the Police Service Commission. Nizam eventually fired by the president. August to November 2010, URP workers fired. August 2010, pension promised 3,000 for 60-year-old withdrawn. August 1st, 2010, court awards Soca Warriors outstanding payments. TTF still owes Soca Warriors. August 18, 2010, 28 letter warnings that the Tunapuna PR code terminated. August 27, 2010, Acting Commissioner James Filbert contracted terminated before expiration after the Goat Boy threatened him. August 2010, head of the ODPM force out of office. September 1st, 2010, Volney hang them in the square. September 2010, senior journalists take up position in the government and GISL. September 8, 2010, cancellation of the smelter project. September 8, 2010, curtailment of the rapid rail system. September 16, 2010, Volney attack on the Chief Justice. September 2010, cancellation of OPVs. September 25, 2010, assault head fired. September 28, 2010, new commissioner and deputy appointed with millions of dollars in salaries. October 1st, 2010, for apologies for attacking the CJ and the HORI House of Representatives. October the 15th, 2010, 400 contractual staff and clerical staff at primary school contract not renewed. October the 17th, 2010, award of airport lighting contract by Jack Warner without board or tendering process by the AATT. October the 19th, 2010, San Juan Market refurbishment halted by Sharma, later reversed this decision. October 27, 2010, Ken Ali hired as CEO without proper board and advertisement. November 10, 2010, Dukaran payment for cash. Dukaran says payment and contractors in cash. After it's have so much here. November 2010, Security Intelligence Agency files reveal in the House of Representatives. November 2010, firing of Fazim Mohammed with interview Ramajan. December 4, 2010, Justice Minister of Wadvani claims SIA files were erased by 2 Israeli men. December 15, 2010, Ganga Singh appointed as CEO at Wassa without proper advertisement. December 30th, 2010, Minister of the reintroduction of Ghost Gang in URP. December 2010, 13 million for relief for farm victims within 1 month. December 28, 2010, government claims contract owes 7 billion. That figure not in question. Now, Dominic Digest 2010, right? The year 2011, it has too much. Dominic is so much. And these people want to come out and talk and tell me why should I stain my finger to vote Ole back in, right? Look at up debacle from January, the year 2011, January to December, the year 2012, January to December. The year 2013, January to December. 14, January to December. 15, January to August. Right? When I see this, I say, wow. And these people want to come and tell me that this Rowley administration wicked, evil, and bad. Like, they forget like these 257 blunders they had in our last 5 years. Yes, no. Remember, a little more, not much here. You remember Nizam Mohammed? Do you know who I am? Mohammed Hasiful Mohammed, the coup commissioner with false papers. You remember that? People, Jamal Mohammed, stupid Muslim coolie, email gate, section 34, American contractor family company Danos Limited, calling part of the secret flying squad, Prime Minister Vigvati Newton and the Prime Minister residence. Ambassador Neil Pastor racist Diwali message. Kubla Singh protests. Chakwana images on the national flag. Carl Chairman $20,000 car rental. Hassan Barrett and the Porsche Cayenne. Anara Logan and the piano. Anara Logan and the Range Rovers. Anara Logan and his $1 million property purchases. Asho Jack mansion built with pumpkin and cucumber. Jackie Waski and the toy plane. A failed SOE. Kamlan Anad self-awarded silk. Asian Steve numerous lifeline in the state. The Range Rover with flashing blue lights at Munilal House. And he continued uses. We had slap gate, breast grab gate, nipple and penis gate, prison gate, light sport gate, ganja gate, room 201 gate, fraudulent cheap. So the letter to Kubla Singh, self-silk, witness tampering, scandalous NGC, Tiatek, Wasa, and Petritrin, 353 million payout to favored lawyers, bugging the DPP office, land grab to property and supporters, FCB IPO scandal, false papers, TCL insider trading and scandal, 60 million theft in national energy, the collapse of the Integrity Commission, and the list goes on and on. And only telling people, only wouldn't tell people about what all they did in them period. But you recommend, I want to talk about crime. That's why Jenny was right, just what she said. The UNC is the criminal entity in this country. That's why the crime situation, not crime, but the murder rate in this country is where it is. Because all of them in your position, from the leader go right down, have questions at everybody court. But you want people in this country to come and put all your back there because all they say, well, here what? We are the solution to the criminal behavior in Trinidad and Tobago. By all the fueling the problem. You understand? Look at this opportunity to congratulate Nicolas Maduro on another successful 6-year term in the Venezuelan country of the president in Venezuela. I want Liberia to call in and say otherwise other than that. You understand? The UNC is not good for this country as of present, now, and going in the future. You understand? Dominic, good program. I looked on and I listened. People go up on the page and I will see that listing that was put out there. Looked on and listen, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good morning.
Hey, Dominic, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, the caller before me there, I would really like to get a copy of everything you outlined there, just to keep and to read every now and then to be reminded that these people are them, because when you hear them people and them asking questions of this government, you can swear them in saints, Like Heinz that was to go up one of them in Parliament, it was asking Heinz that question about cameras. And then I had to remind them who the facial cameras from the airport and those things. They get vexed. And I'll jump up afterwards to talk to politicians. But I happened to tune in to the conversation between Barrett and Pastor Google. Actually, I was surprised that Pastor Google was on. But I came in at the part when I heard Pastor Barrett telling Pastor Google, I don't know how it started, I just came in at this point, right? that you can't blame Kamala Prasad for what happened to the airport scandal under the UNC administration, as you can't blame Dr. Rowley for what happened on the one that is always talk about he did a long time ago. Right? That's the comparison you say. But I was always saying, you see, UNC and them, they have no morals and no ethics. Because the woman, the AG, the person who have the record for the shortest stint as the AG, when she came in, first order the paper was the bubble first inquiry was to fire the man and to shut it down. And you think it would have done there, right? She came in as Prime Minister and she gave me Section 34. And that was for who? That to help agencies don't go and face where the partner would be convicted in the U.S. court, and they were part of it. So for Basan Barra to make that comparison is very dishonest, right? And you have outlined when Brian came into. Well, listen to Brian. Brian came in and Brian fit in because Brian have a lot of information on that, because Brian, apparently, as far as I understand, Brian used to work with Petrotrim, so he would know, and he wasn't one of them fellas with his hand spanners. Brian looked like he was in a major section of the company, and he keep abreast of what was going on with the company, because the company is his future. And anybody working with any company would want to know how good the company is doing. Then you can measure, start looking for another job and bust out before you go down with it. And I want to ask Basan Barrett, he said that how much thousands of people get laid off and they're not working. These things, you know, something, these things, if Basan Barrett wants me to support him to take over leadership of the party, I could never support none of them, you know, because basically that's a big lie. All the government did, because he keeps saying they shut down Petrotrin and they shut down this and 1,000 workers on the bread line, right? Mm-hmm. But the new system that they have there, where I goes running that, and I want to ask Basan Barat that he said that it will be easily fixed, and he was outlining what to do and it could have fixed. It was some report, and Brian shut down that stuff, and he was talking about when Brian came in and started talk about there was a report, and then Brian explained exactly what went in, because long before they tried bringing some expert to come and look at the company and how to cut, like cutting staff was one, to cutting this, cutting that, cutting that. They tried it, it failed miserably, right? Minister Kevin Ramnarine would have perused all those documents, and the cabinet would have been speaking about it. Because Kevin Ramnarine raised it in the parliament that the Petrotrin was losing money through the same refinery. But they did nothing. Kevin Ramnarine did nothing. So Kevin Ramnarine to come to tell me that this should have been done, and Basan Barat this and that should have been done. Basan Barat and them sitting in a cabinet and overlook and oversaw that and did nothing. So what you could tell me about that now? As far as I understand, the only thing is making money. And on top of that, just say that 1,000 of people and them were sent home. Who's running it? Hence the reason why Ansel Roger can't get 1,000 of people who want the breadline to come and match with him, because those people are better off. I get laid off, I get paid off, and they call me back on a new contract and a new thing. That thing could be better off for me. I have about 4 more years before I hit retirement, and I could get my full lump sum and bust out and gone with that. And you don't think I'm gonna run for that and take it? So when Ansel and these persons trying to be dishonest, people put all this stuff in the position, and if you're working with a company and you working there for kind of 20-something years, and you know telling yourself, look, listen, you see me, I think I ready to leave, you know, but you can't leave because you were lost out, because you're nearly finishing line. And an opportunity like this comes in, you grab it up with both arms. So when these fellas are telling you all these other nonsense, the thing, but if it was so easy and so thing and whatever, then Ansel and them was part of the whole system of that and know everything about the refinery. How come Ansel can get somebody to support him to buy? These are some of the questions that is always up until the government bent backward to ensure that answer them get, because what they offer, the government said, nah, here we go. So and so is so and so and so and so and put it back in the thing and give them it. And you know what? They can't come up with the finances, the startup. So the lies, I can't handle the lies and to back it up at the end with this one. If Kamala Prasad says, when you tell Kamala, you said in your public meeting when you were challenging Kamala for leadership, right? So you are challenging Kamala for leadership, and you said that we have to put country first. And then Kamala had her meeting, and she said that he is saying put country first. You have to put party first. The hell with country. What about your stance on put country first, Pastor Barat? Because as far as you, what you did there, you just tell me you concede the Kamala Prasad, so you are now putting party first, not country, so I cannot support you. And this is how I read it. It's simple. I am just going based on the facts on why I am. Why I think I heard what Pastor Barat said yesterday. I didn't call him, but I am just saying this. I'm putting this out here for the listeners and to understand the games them fellas playing with people. Them fellas playing real games over here. They're playing real games. And I have put certain points because basically I place myself in the situation of these people. If I was working Petrotrin and I close to retirement age, I had over 20 years of service, I would gladly take that money and run. I mean thinking twice. And if I work in Petrotrin, I work in a department and I am needed, and I about the same 20 years, and I gain the money and they call me back, I run it back and take it again because again I doubled it. These are some of the things you have to look at. I mean, you didn't have to work there. You probably had about, let me say, maybe had about 4 years, 5 years. So this is that Petrotrin. When they did the thing to get rid of the debtors and those people on them. You take your money. On top of that, Petrotrin is making money at the service the debts now. But the refinery have put Petrotrin in such a deep hole that what he's not saying is that the government had to be paying the Petrotrin and them debt, and the Petrotrin was not paying taxes and royalties to the government. You see, they don't say these things that the government had to bail them out when the ship come and pack outside for the refinery, the barrels or for the refinery. What they tell the new incoming finance minister and the government, hey, we're not delivering not one drop from one of them barrel of oil until you guarantee all they paying me. You know what that says to us? That these guys are taking credit from Trinidad and Tobago. That means that our economy was in a bad state because they're not taking no credit from Trinidad and Tobago. They say they pack up out there and they have a time limit there because that ship can't afford to stay, otherwise they go with the oil and sell it somewhere else. So they give us enough time to get the money and the other reason put it in the thing. And when you think that when they take it in the government goes that they carry something out there, it's because that was to fulfill pre-orders. That is money that people in the Caribbean and then pay and that the Petrotrin and then spend all that money already. There was nothing to get back done, and then you will be hit with some bond that they had raised long time and it come into the oh, you want government to say Bata and them have some so dotish Bata and you feel them to sit down in a boardroom with the chairman or the president of BP, and then now you have to go and talk to the big man, the real big man in charge, the president of things and talk that kind of nonsense to them fellas. The fellas and them wouldn't want to hear you. That's the reason why the contracts was for telling them for them, okay, well, you only go ahead and drill and keep the taxes until you find something, then after you go pay me, which estimated how much, about 10 years. So 10 years we not getting that. That is how all they negotiate with these people and them. Well, if I was the president of India, you'd say that you gave me that. So if I gladly take it, I'll grab it and I will send little boys and them down to see where they can get. But you're not serious because you know how to get involved and you have to think this. So that's why Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young and Faris Harari reversed that contract that they signed. They weren't obligated to reverse anything. BP and Shell isn't obligated to reverse anything that was signed, sealed, and delivered. And if Dr. Rowley and the two Stuart Young and Faris Harari can get that done, And then you see them for them winning cases, high-level cases of over $100 million US in the court from a case that was from 20-something years ago, 28 years ago. And you tell me them for them you can't get them for still from the judiciary, and they are members of the judiciary and the law association, those things. That's something come wrong. But Kamala Persad-Bissessar can give herself still, and we mustn't talk about that. What she have done, nothing. The lady is just a total, if you put back that lady there again, be in trouble, because that lady said that she supported Guaido. So she supported, if you read the clip that Muhammad put up the United States government in the Senate up there, what it was talking about. You in other words, what did you supported a coup against the Venezuelan government, right? You're also attacking Maduro. Some of the Nazi things with Rwanda recently. You become our prime minister. What would be our position with our closest neighbor Venezuela and all those guys that we have now signed off with them? So we have to think. The other thing, these people them wants nothing good for this country. And she said it. She said that you had to put party for the hell with country. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Seven 1763. PF Cutters is saying the PNM is the government because we vote on issues, but brainless Sahelo don't want to take that in his pipe and smoke it. Let's see here. Jenny says all they have on the PNM is 2 individuals who died decades ago, Holland and Privat, involved in corruption. The UNC corrupted through and through, according to Jack. 770-1763. We have another 15 minutes or so to go. Let's see here. Kurt Richard says, Les Vassan and Kamala and Roger come and debate Dr. Rowley with that foolishness. So true. I think the list that Eric would have highlighted earlier on, it would be posted up on the page, right? So you'll be able to see it. Jenny.
Dominic, I have a theory, and that theory is based on all Ruth, Jack Warner, Abdullah, Roger, Terry Hadid, and the list goes on and on. I think the reason why they surround Kamala Persad-Bissessar and continue to support her is because of the fact that she's an alcoholic. And being an alcoholic, it makes her very susceptible. So that, again, this is my theory, that when they want anything done, give she something to drink, and when she's drunk, she signs this and give away this whatever, so she becomes helpless. She becomes weak, so they could overpower her. And I think that is the attraction to them weak men and them who can stand on their own 2 foot, that they have no balls in some bag somewhere, that they like a weakly, like Kamala Persad-Bissessar, because through her, they could live their dream in this abusive kind of way. And again, I'm saying it's a theory. And that is the push, I think that is why all them just run back home because they could do anything they want. Kamala Persad-Bissessar has become, to me, this again is my theory, like, a parent, you go make it do whatever you want, you could get up in the morning, you have to say good morning, you have to say your prayers, you have to brush your teeth, you could leave the bed, you could run up and down, hold it, do whatever the hell you want to, right? And they don't like she. But when they get older and you see those habits that you would have learned, makes you very incapable of doing a well-productive citizen, makes you incapable of even forming a proper relationship because you had no foundation. Whereas with Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, again, this is my theory, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley is the kind of parent who, when you're home, when you get up in the morning, you say good morning, you kneel down, you say your prayers, you make up your bed, you clean yourself, you have your breakfast, you wash up your ways, there's an order. So that when you get older in life, you have a foundation that you have stood on that will make you more productive and efficient. And that is why they don't look like Dr. Rowley, along with the fact that he's too black. So they like Kamala Persad-Bissessar because she's a woman and she likes skin, and then of course she's of Indian descent, but mainly because she has a problem that Jonas and say that she has, and they take advantage of it. That is why I can never, like none of them, man. This is one time I'll be in empathy with Kamala Persad-Bissessar because she's a woman at the end of the day. And then weak, nasty, abusive men is using this woman's weakness that she has to make sure that they come into office and do all the wrong things. They can't even stand on their own. Batan could have stand on his own, but he party no. He has to leave it and abandon it, and he excuses she called he. So you go back saying those human trafficking and prostitution. Batan Barra, do you know what is human trafficking? Which is modern day slavery where women and girls and boys are being kidnapped, beaten, raped. You know what I'm saying? Beaten, rape, abortions, depression, suicide. That is what you gone back there because you say that prostitution, then you go back to that is a weak man. All the man and them who doesn't run, so run cannot possess this, that's why they're weak. And it's because they know they can advance. So she's sort of very abusive too. And I'm sick. This morning I'm very sick just thinking about the fact that Batan Barat, who plays himself to be, as they say, I didn't say so, the knife and fork and well spoken, is nothing more, as I say again. He come like when you have your foot dirty and he'll crack up and you put in expensive shoes and you walk in. People don't see the nastiness that it is, only see the expensive shoes. But take off the shoes, and that's what Batan Barat did. He take off the expensive shoes and we see him for who he is. And because of that, I have no respect for Batan Barat and all of them who continue to use Kamala Prasad Bissetta knowing she has a problem. And instead of advising to get help, no, they're using that to their advantage so they could come into office. That way they will never get back into office and they could never run this country because they're weak. All of them in the UNC. When you look at the PNM side, you've seen a strong leader. You've seen a leader who prepares us for the future. You've seen ministers who work in the tail off for the interest of Trinidad and Tobago. Not in the interest of party, but in the interest of country. You've seen ministers Young Estate. You've seen Dr. Gatsby. You've seen Minister what's her name up there? Camille Robinson Regis. You've seen the Leon. You've seen all of them working and trying the best in the interest of country. But when you look at the UNC, they're looking to come into the background because they know they are weak and they will advance the shit. And it's all because they want things for themselves. And I want to leave with this, always saying again, when the PNM come into office, why crime does be high? Ask them why every time the UNC is voted out of office, why crime does be high? That's a better question to ask because it does always happen. And is it because, again, based on what they have been saying, not me, Philip Alexander, Gary, all of them, they have been facilitating criminal activities so that when they also in again, the money not flowing again, and they leave these people who they encourage in the criminal behavior. This is the opinion I'm having. Based on all that we have been hearing. So now, what you leave them to do is just like when somebody says, some say, well, if they take away the guns from these fellas, and then what they will do is that kind of behavior they want to keep promoting in this country to make African children feel that all they have to do is say you're poor, and then you'll be excused when they go and thief and do the wrong things. And we are saying that is not true. Your circumstances doesn't define you. Poverty doesn't define you. Plenty of people around the world were poor, went to school with no shoes, went to school hungry, and they become out successful individuals in this world. So those fall for a camera, and I want to have we as African people to the bottom and only go about poverty and poverty. And some of we all preaching that to we. What a disgrace. We are better than that. All of us to build this country together, all races to build this country together. But Kamala and them want to separate the races in this country. PNM has always been a national party. That's why Dr. Ike Williams said, no matter Africa, no matter India, no matter China, no matter Syria, no matter whatever is matter Trinidad and Tobago. It's not that you wanted to forget your culture and tradition, but you know, if you hold on to that alone, this country will never build as a united front, as a nation. That is why he said that, but he never said to forget where you came from. And the PNM has always been a national party, and I'm very upset this morning to see Batan Barat come and spit in my face and tell me that it's raining, and spit in my face and tell me that it's raining. But rock, so yes, I have no respect for you this morning, boy. I'm not going all over the place and talking because it's something worse. The best thing you could do is put your head on a plastic bag and walk away and leave the UNC and them alone and go back to talking because you have no morals and ethics to talk to nobody right now. I can't get this morning, Dominic. You have a blessed one. Everybody have a blessed one.
Thank you, Jen. It's 8:53. Could probably take one or two more quick calls. Winston, what you back again? Come on. So forget it, the ground report is off the radio.
No, good morning. Me again.
Yes, ma'am.
You know something? A holder wolf and a thief.
Mm-hmm.
If something is not 8 o'clock for me, it is up to 8:30. How can Barrett go back to the gang, to the thugs, to the bullies in this nation? Where's integrity or morals? Is your pot empty? Your cold pot have no breadfruit? Are you riding on a bicycle or the back of Pamela's wings? That is what you call people and a party, really? It's a gang of thugs and bullies and comes a dictator. Years ago, I helped somebody, an Indian girl who was raped by her father. Her mother saw and said, "It's your daddy, no big thing." My life was threatened because I helped her. I won't call her name. She live in St. Joseph Farm Road. And the uncle, he's so crazy, doing something. And every morning, 5:15, I used to go to work. I'm talking first and things. Women who raped her, right? Died from AIDS. They brought dogs to rape a girl. When I gave her clothes, destroy it. So, Barrett, and I'm going to pack up flipping hypocrites. I agree with Jenny. But calm the two, must have some self-respect. Pull up yourself by the bloody bootstrap and get out. She likes abuse. Abuse isn't love. I must be first hit me and knock you out. Have some self-worth. What about her marriage? What marriage she have? Because if you're married on it, woman or man, the person you're married to must tell you these facts. Is he man, mannequin or mannequin? You know what Dr. Rowley's marriage? It's damn strong. Its foundation is built in love and not convenience. The girl who wife of Mr. Rowley, the young woman, she pushed herself on him because she is a public figure. And if her family have morals, they will allow that. That was a setup. We're not payday. But the payday is you make your child look like a garden tool. Santa Claus say ho 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 ho. That looks like, because no decent parent would allow their girl child look like that for a married man. The day will come in, go pay a price. And I tell Ishmael Henry well, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Goes the clock on your heart, because very soon you will die. You're going to make a maker, whatever it is. What I said, Dom, I say I have no regrets. I stand by what I say. Because when it was in red, he had no problem then. You want to take the Ishmael, call a 60 bloody road, and build a guard food. You're a waste of oxygen. Bye-bye, have a good day later.
You call up. Right, 8:57. Let me see. Denise Cummings says they have no moral authority. Bharat brainless. He is not man, he have no backbone, and you can't even see. Oh Lord. Kucho says the UNC doesn't bother me too much because from the get-go I realized UNC is a wealth of lies, deception, propaganda, and poverty avoidance of progress. So I'll just take this last one here, and then that's it for the hello. Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Hey, Dominic, good day.
Yes, sir.
Again. All right. Here it is. I think it's yesterday. I said, let me get update on the Olympics. I know we had some athletes that would have competed yesterday, and set to compete this morning and those things. So I said, let me go onto TTT, state-owned television, TTT. I went onto the channel. I saw the panel of commentators. There's a young lady, Janelle. You have the East Indian guy, his name, I think it's Akash or whatever his name is. And you know the third person, Anna Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I look at the space bar below, it says that a commentator has been they sack him for sexist statements he made on air. And I say, look at that. Look at that. They sack a commentator because they allege that he make a sexist statement, which I didn't know, because when I see Anna Roberts, they turned me off one time and I switched. And because I say to myself, I say, but Anna Roberts is also known for making a lot of not just sexist, but nasty, disrespectful statements against women in Trinidad and Tobago. And he's a sitting senator. But you all had to go to bring that fella there, and you put on his space bar and anything, and so it asks me, what about the morals of the people of Trinidad and Tobago? What about the image that it puts on the state-owned television, TTT News? That you have Anna Roberts sitting right in. Everybody in Trinidad know who he is and what he does and the things that he have done. Like say somebody nastiest thing about our MPs, the women, and the president. One of the highest offices in Trinidad. At least if you don't like the woman, okay, but to respect the woman office. He have said somebody nastiest thing about the president, President May Weeks, right? And under the space bar, and that alone sends us a message that there's something is wrong, and not just with the politicians, but the Bushman, but only had to have some sort of moral, and that's where like our problem in Trinidad and Tobago, because if the people used to go back on the old days with morals and principles and those things, the crime rate will be down, and these people and them who have done wrong to the country would have their day to explain themselves, either in court or before a parliamentary privilege committee. And we have done and dealt with these things and fixed the errors and those things, but we have people supporting them because I support them and who look like me and who is in my religion. That can work. If we want to get a better society, we have to start looking at things like that. You can't put Anna Roberts on a swimming committee program there that if you're talking and discuss there, and then below their space bar you talk about a commentator in the Olympics was they remove him because he makes sexist statements. That is my point I want to make. I hope people agree with what I say, because if that standard could work in the Olympics, right, and we run in our country, we have to step up in the game, and because Trinidad is a real place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Trinidad is indeed a real place. Let me just take this last one here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Dominic.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. I hope person listened to Jenny this morning, because he mentioned yesterday in his interview that he liked to hear comments from Jenny, because she have a lot of ideas, and although some of them critical against him, he likes to listen to everybody, so that he'll know how to make adjustments and so on. So I hope you listen to this. I hope for somehow you might be able to get to hear what she had to say. But as I was telling Diane yesterday afternoon, this fellow they call Gaspasan Barak, he's such a disappointment to so many people. I mean, after giving the impression at least that you're such a moral, outstanding person, to just have this lady just pull you back in just like that, something had to be wrong. But as I was saying, I remember she told him, if you love country, go to hell.
Yes.
So I was wondering if he really took up her offer and went to hell. Sleep with the devil for a few months. Adopted some of the devil's characteristics, because he had no choice, he living with the devil. And now that you back out, there's only one place for them. Where the NRTs. Because that whole party, almost every one of them, immoral. Everything they could do wrong, they agree with. Anything that could go wrong side, they agree with. Anything that they could put their hand on, they will take it. And that's why it's so easy for him to fit back into that party. And then this guy, Dr. What's the other one? Maraj. What's his name? The other Maraj. Who left
Devant. Yes, Devant Maraj.
Devant Maraj. He had a mouthful to say yesterday afternoon on the Arianship about the same Basan Bad and how he's so disappointed about him going back and eat up his vomit and all sorts of things. And I so embarrassed because you see what made it was this guy, Yana Maraj, he will be on the Arianship. Ralph Maraj.
Yes.
Yeah. He was agreeing with what Basan did and saying it would strengthen the party to see people of that caliber going back to form a good opposition and so on. And when the other Maraj now Basan and Basan, they went from talking about that, talking his mind about what he think about him. Man, I've just had a sleep at. We asked him a few questions, and every question I've asked him to say, let him know, in spite of what happened, he have no right going back to that party. And his excuse is that the country in such a state with the PNM that he cannot allow that to continue and not try to do something about it. So that's why he went back. Now, the point Devan was making is, even if that might have been so, let's assume that what is saying at the PNM isn't people, you go and join up with that, which is worse 10 times. I mean, I was so embarrassed. Ralph Maraj, I just didn't know. I don't know when you get off and just declare himself UNC and that, because you'll always try to pretend that he's neutral, but his comments are never, ever neutral or any way that it's supposed to be. So I was just wondering now, how this Basan Baraj, going to function in the months to come, knowing what we know and knowing what he stood for, and then to come now and capitulate and join back up with this lady. I'm really sorry for these people. And it's not he alone. All you said them just sneaking back in and see Suraj Rambachan looking like he's trying to sneak back in. And all of them, you can tell themselves, the PNM have the weakness now because of the crime situation. They get the impression that is enough to have PNM fall. But I think they have another thought to think about, and they will be much, much surprised at the end of it. And you have a good day.
Thank you, sir. All right, first time callers, thank you so much. Welcome. So that's it for calls. So let me just play this for the benefit of one Winston Bachelor who I see on YouTube there.
The leadership of the party. And then we spoke about modernizing the party headquarters, and we went full speed into that. And I'm sure you're all proud of the new Bally's House. Have you been there? Have you been there? You feel good about your party headquarters, yes? Thank you for your contributions that went into making sure that was possible. You know, the UNC look at it, they're jealous, and all they can say is, well, how let's get the money to build that? Well, we didn't teach it. We are an organization 68 years old. We pay party dues. Each party member pays their dues, and we collect those dues, and we hold fundraisers on the PNM Fed. You all know the PNM Fed? We make quite a tidy sum from the PNM Fed because people love to come and have a good time in the PNM Fed.
You heard that, Winston? The membership of the PNM, we pay our dues. I could tell you that the chairman of my party group don't make joke. Every year, he calls me, hey, your membership dues are due. When you dropping him money for me? And if I tell him I'm coming Tuesday, Bet your bottom dollar he called me Monday night to remind me. I said I come in Tuesday to drop it. And then Tuesday morning he will call me. Don't forget, you have to pass and drop something for me. Yes, sir. And if I don't pass on Tuesday, he will call my phone until he gets his money. He don't play. So my membership dues up to date, and I'm sure he does the same thing with every other member of the party group. Right? We pay our dues, sir. I don't know the party that you belong to, if you paid your dues, but I can tell you we pay ours. You know, they talk about the PNM Fed, which is well patronized. But we have other fundraisers. You know, there's something called the September Fair. Last night was held in October, right, Mr. Bachelor? It's $1,500 a ticket, sir. Understand? You go to the Hyatt, you dine with the hierarchy of the PNM and so on and the like. And it's always sold out, sir. Right? Always sold out. So I don't know if you could afford it, but it's what we welcome. I mean, we would prefer that it would be, you know, an enjoyable event. We don't need no sourpusses coming there, but if you could afford it, just in a couple months' time when it comes up, get your money ready, and they could pass through and see what a real fundraiser looks like. We also had something where the members of the PNM, the membership of the PNM could have donated a brick. All right? How much does one brick cost, sir? You understand? So we know creative ways. So if everybody come together and you purchase one brick at $5 or $10, as the case may be, you rather put out plenty. You don't need to be filthy rich. But we have a strong membership. And when one person could afford to buy 10, 15, and 20 blocks, you understand? All of that contributed to the construction of Balize House. So when you all want to come, all of you pseudo appraisers and valuators and watching Balize House and say, that's 100 million, 150, 200 million, and quoting all kind of crazy prices, and who thief and who give money. You all need to understand, right? That is how these things are funded, because we take our party seriously. We are proud of Balize House. We own it. We have a deed. The party that you support, only knocking from pillar to post. After 35 years as a party, they're still homeless, like the littlest hobo. Have no headquarters. Had several fundraisers. I think the most recent that they would have had would have been just a couple years ago. So they raising money to build a headquarters and still can't build it. Why don't one ask them where the money went? Since in the days of Yonanan Prasad, when he was the treasurer for the UNC, so they had some raffle, they raised $9 million to build a headquarters, and you don't know where the money gone. Go and ask them that. Ask them that. But you see, when it is that you have a party with committed members, we don't mind dipping in our pocket to help our party. You understand? So when you're talking about Balize House built with sweet bread and selling cake and come on, man, ease us up with that foolishness. Ease us up with our foolishness. We know how to have fundraisers, right? And the membership of the PNM, we support our fundraisers. So you could come to the PNM Fed next year for Carnival and see if you're willing to spend your money. Come true. Okay? Folks, enjoy the rest of your day, as always. Pearl says yes, you should sell doubles and raise funds without, what about a corrida competition? Justin says, Rolling Stones that gather no more. That's exactly what they are. Rolling Stones. Melka Rock says that she does her part to share the light. Thank you so much, Melka. Shell says they're political nomads. Yeah, that's correct. They have plenty headquarters. Pam says, only rum shop in China. Folks, enjoy your day. Make it a productive one. Thursday is a holiday. As we know, it's African Emancipation Day. Let me get it correct. African Emancipation Day will be celebrated on Thursday. I know many of you may be dressing in your African way or finery to head down to Port of Spain for the procession up to the Queen's Park Savannah. And I don't know if the admin will be carrying that on the page. So once I get that confirmation, we'll just put out a message to let you all know. If I am doing the live on Thursday, it will be 11 o'clock. But if we carry in the procession, then you would be able to see it on the page. But I know for sure Jenny is going to be down there. Last year, she would have provided us with some very good coverage, and she would have interviewed a number of persons who participated in the procession. Yeah. So if you're going out, enjoy it. Have a good one. and we will chat. We will chat soon. Yeah, so just look out for that. For the folks on YouTube, if it is in fact we are carrying the session on the page, then I'll just do a video and let you guys know what is the situation with respect to the live. All right. So again, enjoy your day, and we will chat soon. Let me go and play back this thing with the Bacchanal web that on 91.9 earlier. Yeah. So we'll chat.